Okay, it is that time of the week again. It's time for showing up. So I'm showing up. How about you? Did you show up? Of course you showed up. If you didn't show up, you wouldn't be here. If you like showing up, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Do all that happy horse shit. Play the little YouTube game. Do the little YouTube dance. So, one of the things that I've been musing on this week is the general idea that most people enter the world. Well, we all enter the world, and we own nothing, and we know nothing, and we can do nothing. We can't even hold up our own heads. We can't burp on our own, for God's sake. We come into the world completely incapable of doing anything, and for years, everything has to be done for us. Somebody else has to do it for us. And eventually, you reach a point where you're expected to start doing all of this stuff for yourself. You're not supposed to rely on other people to do it for you. And what I see a lot of from your millennials and Gen Z, and I will undoubtedly be seeing it from Gen Alpha, is people that are confused about needing to deliver something to the world for the world to give a shit about you. They don't seem to understand that when you get a job, it's not about showing up when you're supposed to start and staying until you're supposed to leave. Showing up is 90% of it. But the other 10% of it is really important, and that's the stuff that you do while you're there. If you're not doing anything useful, your employer's not going to be happy with you. And a lot of people are stomping around right now going, my boss wants me to stay late and do more work. Well, why didn't you get the work done while you were working? I mean, you were working, right? Why didn't the work get done then? If he wants the work done, why didn't you have it done before it was time for you to leave? And there are shitty bosses out there. There are shitty people that come up with work for you to do just to try and make you stay late, to express their petty control over your life. There are plenty of those people. But there are also petty people who just sit around and be passive-aggressive and don't do their work when they're supposed to be doing their work. And then when they go, it's time for me to go home, and the boss says, hey, you need to finish the thing, they get pissy and antsy about it. And I've seen both of these things. I've seen the boss who suddenly remembers he had an extra thing he wanted me to do. And I've seen the employee who, at the end of his day, gets told by the boss, hey, you were supposed to have this done, and it's not done, to go do it. This needs to be done today. And there are a lot of people these days that are saying some variant of, I don't dream of labor. But you're being paid for it. That's what you're supposed to be doing at work, is the labor. That's why you're being paid for it. And if you don't have a dream job, what you're saying is that you cannot imagine anything ever being useful to people in a way that you would enjoy providing it. That's kind of an overt statement that you think of yourself as a worthless and useless person. You're not a worthless and useless person. I mean, you could be on purpose if you really wanted to, but nobody would like you. Nobody likes worthless, useless people. As a general rule, people will begin to appreciate you for your personality and the kind of person that you are. And they'll appreciate you more when they see that you deliver something that is useful to other people, even if it's not them. Even if you're just doing good things for somebody they don't know or don't even care about. Like if you volunteer at a homeless shelter, well, it's a good thing. I'm glad you volunteer at a homeless shelter. That tells me something about who you are. And I like what that tells me. So I'm going to be your friend just because I think it's cool of you to go and volunteer at a homeless shelter. You don't necessarily have to do anything for me, just like you don't necessarily have to do anything for anybody else. But if you're not doing anything for anybody else, nobody is going to like you. That's just how it works. And you get all these people that are complaining about it's so hard to make friends as an adult. Well, it is, but if you go places and do things and you help other people out, it's not as hard as you think. Anyway, everything you have as you're growing up, somebody else gave you. Everything you know, somebody else taught you. Everything you do, somebody else showed you. So, I'm working on a thing. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm going to tell you about it, and maybe you'll learn something, and maybe you'll be able to get something out of this. Because that's what you do with other human beings, is you help them out. That's what other people are for. They're for you to help. So let's pull up the other screen. You can see over here, to give a kind of quick explanation of what I'm doing here, I am, let me select an appropriate layer. I'm doing a shirt design. You can see here it says Yandere Pride. And behind that, we have this head. So if I turn off the text, okay, you just got this head floating here. Now, I'm not doing a very good job on this because, as you can see, there's something really fucked up with what's going on in the neck area, and the features don't look great either. Now, I did this as the time-lapse this week, and from the time-lapse, you can see, if I pull up the time-lapse export, let me hit pause here. We've got the initial cut at that head. As you can see that here's where we ended up, okay? But before that, back around here, I had a first cut at it that I was not happy with. You can see that is just we're coming way too far down on the mandible here. That's coming way too far down. So I fixed that a bit, and I kind of carved it away. And I tried to fix everything. I put a little blood stain on the cheek that I haven't gotten around to adding back in. And I pushed it around. I used the liquify tool. And the liquify tool kind of messes things up. So I went in to redraw it. I have a sneeze coming. There we go. So I lowered the opacity on that, and I started redrawing, and I started trying to fix it. I started moving stuff around, and it got so much worse. Oh my God, it looks awful. Like, what the hell? So I had to move on from that, and I had to redo it again. And I redid the shape a bit, and I think I did okay on the shape. But again, it didn't come out as good as I'd like it to. I apologize for that. But I did kind of get this thing together here, and I'm not happy with the way it looks. And the entire problem with this is that I don't know what I'm doing. So I went and started pulling out reference, and obviously I started off with some various stuff. I grabbed, well, the first thing that I grabbed was I said, okay, I have a picture of Lena Morris, the overly attached girlfriend, making a similar pose. I just need to exaggerate it a little bit. So that's got some information on it. And I also have an image from an anime. I can't remember what anime this is, but it wasn't really all that instructive, except that if you have a look at you have a look at this space right here, okay? You can see when you scroll it, when you zoom in, there's this little crossover here. And this little crossover, let me go to a proper notes layer there. You can see right here, we've got this neck shape, this little kind of Y shape, where this kind of melds in, and you can see the profile of the face is coming around. So you've got that, and then this comes up, and there's the edge of the ear. You got a cheekbone here, right there, bottom edge of the eye, and there's the temple. And because the head is lifted, okay, the ear would occupy roughly this space. And because the head is lifted, you have this curved line that goes across the eyes. The eye line isn't straight on. Similarly, the line where the nose goes, not straight on. Okay, the line where the mouth goes, not straight on. Okay, everything is kind of tilted in this way. Right there. And you've got this tapering of the face that goes downward. It's kind of hard to see where the edge of the face is here. But you can see that I've kind of got that going on there, because I am thinking in terms of that. But the real thing that we pull away from this is this crossing on the neck right here. And this crossing on the neck where the two lines cross, this is kind of a crucial thing, because when you scroll out here and we come over to this guy, you can see the same basic thing. And what you can see here is when we pull back out and we go, let's grab Ayase from Dandadan, and you can see here that that same crossing is here, but it's with the edge of the mandible and not the edge of the chin. Okay? So as the head turns, you can see here it's fairly far up the side. Okay? And it begins here from the mandible as the head turns. The head turns more, it begins to be the side of the chin. And as it turns even more, it begins to be the mandible on the opposite side there. So you kind of have this thing where if you look at this in the opposite direction, you've got here the chin just starting to come in there. And then over here, as the head continues to lower and turn more to the side, then you've got the crossing there. And as the head continues to turn, the crossing begins to be here. So you've got sort of, with the head lifted, you've got the side of the jaw comes across the chin. As it turns, you get the chin coming across the neck there. And then as it turns further, you have the side of the jaw coming across the chin. So you have this kind of turn of the head where the crossing is happening at different locations. Now, in addition to this, we've got, I pulled up the, well, obviously, one of the things that I tried to do was I said, hey, I have this dumbass expensive anime figure model, and I went, well, okay, so let's take this model and we'll put its head back. That Are you serious? That's all the further the head goes back? Just that little bit? That's it? It won't. Okay, well, let's go digital and let's use one of the 3D models in Clip Studio Paint, and we'll pull up a standard Clip Studio Paint model. And you can see here, we've got this kind of profile, and we've got the chin and the neck coming down around like this. But this still doesn't really crane back as far as I'd like it to. I mean, it is kind of getting the sort of feel that we've got from Momo ISA and Dandadan, but I tried just taking an anime head and tilting it back and shifting it around, and that doesn't get the neck pose because it's just moving around as an object. But it did give me a little bit more to work with in terms of getting the face in the right angle. And one of the things that I started thinking about this was, I was looking at all this and I was going, you can divide this into kind of three parts. First of all, you have the hair, okay? I don't need to worry overly about the hair. The hair just kind of sits on top of the head. Then you have the face and the features of the face. The features of the face need to fit properly on the front of the head, which leads us to the head itself. And the head is really what I have the most trouble with. In particular, how it knits with the neck area, okay? So looking at those things and knowing that those are the things that I need to be concerned about and that I need to be working on, I came over here and I looked at these references, and then I went to Bridgman because, of course, people always say, well, go check Bridgman. Of course, Bridgman does some good stuff. And here we have, certainly, we have some coverage of the neck from below, but not a whole lot. Now, this is from Bridgman's Constructive Anatomy because it's the immediately available option that I had, and I'm not a huge fan of Bridgman per se, but I did go back to Bridgman, and I wanted to go back to Loomis, but I didn't have time because what I ended up doing a lot of, as you can see over here to my side, is I did more or less what I always do. I went back to Hogarth. Let me actually kind of set that aside there. And because the fact is, I have this in digital too, so I don't actually need the physical book there. It's just helpful that you can have them open to different sections at a given time. But Bridgman didn't really seem to offer a whole lot beyond the obvious. You've got this section here. So that section looks more or less the same from any angle. So what you have from the side is you have kind of, here's your face, but then when you look at it from underneath, this is a cylinder, and then the head sits on top of that. And some effort needs to be made to make this look appropriate. And I don't know what the hell I'm doing, which is normal. I typically don't know what I'm doing. But obviously, where I turned around and went was to Hogarth. And the first place I went was to Dynamic Anatomy. Okay? Now, this kind of thing, this is what I'm really looking for. This is really kind of exaggerated. But what it really gets across is this. There is a, I think it's in the second folder here. Yeah. The mandible kind of operates as a crescent. And because you've got this kind of crescent shape, from whatever angle you view it at, once you have it simplified in this kind of geometrical way, and you can look at it and go, well, okay, here's the underside of the chin, and here is where the neck would fit into it, and here's the throat, and here's the spinal column. So kind of there's the neck with the spine coming off of it, and here's the neck with the throat coming off of it, right there. And that's kind of, if you have paid any attention to the way that I think about the body from above, I kind of think about it as a diamond. And you've got the spine on one side, right here, and the spine kind of reaches out to both sides, and then you've got the ribs, okay? And we're just looking straight down from the top here. And those ribs at the very top enclose the throat as it goes down through the neck. So you've got the spinal column and the neck right there, and you've got your trapezius muscle coming in from behind, and you've got your sternocleidomastoideus here that is connecting to the clavicle, and you've got various other supporting muscles along the side there. But the big ones are these two big cables in the front and these two big wedges in the back. So when you have the neck coming up, you've got this muscle right there, and then this muscle right here. And then in between those, from the pit of the neck right here, you've got the voice box. And this is where your Adam's apple would be if you've got a man. And typically women don't have Adam's apples. They can, there's nothing wrong with that. Plenty of them do. In fact, if you dig through Elena Morris's pictures, you'll find that she has a very clear and evident laryngeal prominence. So you can, as a woman, have an Adam's apple, as they call it. We just don't call it that. We call it something else. So you've got kind of this mass of fatty tissue there and a mass of fatty tissue there. Here, it's mostly just skin. It's just skin right in there. There's not a lot of fat content over the front of the voice box and the larynx. And then here we have kind of the thickness of the jaw, which is kind of beveled. You got the underside of the chin here, and then you've got the bevel on the underside of the jaw, and then that'll come upward onto the face. And that'll actually come up, will come up at an angle. So kind of here's the underside of the chin, and then you've got this hard, sharp bone here. And that will go up into the side of the skull right there. Here we've got the chin, and then we've got what Hogarth calls the barrel of the mouth. And the chin is about 1/3 of the height, and then that goes directly into the nose. You've got the philtrum here, and then here you've got the nose. So you've got kind of this construction, but none of this is corrected for perspective. You see that I've got this kind of tilted up. That's tilted up, but none of this is corrected for perspective. Anyway, what else was I going to say about this here? Did I have anything else I was going to say? Well, there's more stuff from Hogarth, of course. There's always more stuff from Hogarth. This is the bit that I was looking at right here. And you can see right here, again, he has outlined this kind of semicircle there. And here's this pad of fat. And then you've got the chin, the lower lip, the upper lip, the philtrum, and here's the nose right here. And one of the things that I'm looking at here is ear placement. When the head moves up and down, special care must be given to the placement of the ear. The ear always goes in an opposite direction to the facial tilt. So, in other words, if we pull up the 3D Anatomy again, and let's get rid of that, you can see that as the head comes up, as it tilts up, the ear goes down. The ear tilts down. Because what you've got here is, when you think about it, you've got the skull balanced on top of the spinal column. And you've got the ear right about here. And as the head tilts backward, okay, this is levering back. So as the head tilts, that rotates down. It's not so, the bottom of the ear doesn't go down so much as the top of the ear does. And you can kind of see that when you see here that it says head up, head down. But what's really happening here is just that you've got the ear in a particular place, and it stays more or less in that same place. It just appears to move because of the way that the neck is changing. And if the neck were back in the same position as the other one, the bottom of the ear wouldn't really move much. The top of the ear moves. The top of the ear moves forward, moves back, and because the ear is typically tilted a little bit backward, tilting it forward makes it appear to move upward a little bit. Hogarth is not always what I would consider 100% correct. He makes an observation, and it's a correct observation from one perspective, but I kind of see it a slightly different way. And I do like how he says this is how you set up the ear. On a tilted head, you set up two track lines, the first from the brow corner, the second from the nose base. And using these tracks, and the thing is that working from these, okay, what you're actually doing is just rotating the ear back and forth. It doesn't actually move up and down in and of itself. It moves with the head. The head is moving up and down. In order to tilt your head forward, you have to move your head down. In order to tilt your head back, you have to lift your head up. Okay? And because you're lifting the face up, the other side of your head is levering backwards the other direction. If you just put your finger on the joint, the ear doesn't actually move. But if you hold it still here, you can feel the ear moving back and forth from where it normally is, just if you let your finger slide along your head. Now, Hogarth does, of course, have a lot of information here, and a lot of examples as well. And I really like the way that he does these. Because he makes everything look very engineered. Which, you know, I'm an H.R. Giger fan, so when you make the human form look engineered, I like that. I think that looks good. But you can see how he's kind of divided it up. Here's this edge of the bone, and here's that sharp jaw. There's the edge of the mandible here. You've got kind of this is the bone. And underneath of that, you've got this mass that comes down alongside the throat. And then here is the actual muscle, which attaches up here under the ear. It's actually connected to the mandible there. And we've got this sort of little thing going on here where everything fits together in a particular way. And I'm trying to look at that and figure out how to make this head look better. And one of the more important things here is the concept of perspective tracking for foreshortening, which is to say that if you take the side view of a head, like if we took this particular picture, if we took this particular picture and we were to go, okay, let's rotate it, you can see here you've got this regular head with all of the features straight up and down. But if you tilt it forward, now you can track all of the positions of everything forward onto a frontal view of the face. And then those features tracked onto the frontal view can be tracked onto any position you want. You just start with the features where they normally belong, rotate the head where you want it, and having rotated it where you want it, you just establish your horizontal viewpoints. And once you've established your horizontal viewpoints, if you then wanted to turn this head, if you wanted to turn this head around, if you wanted to turn this head around, then all you would have to do is grab this object. No, not that one. Is grab the object and you rotate it to whichever position you want. But that doesn't actually work. You can rotate it around this way, back and forth, but not vertically, obviously, because you have to rotate it vertically first. First you rotate it vertically, then you rotate it horizontally. Project to the front view and then project to an intermediate view in between the two. And you can do this with the full form as well. So, what I would need to do on this is start with a head that's tilted up like this. So the head is at about the right angle. And then track from there the individual feature locations onto the head. The more I think about it, the more I think that isn't going to be too terribly useful because of the way that this is oriented. That's going to take a lot of futzing around to try and figure this shit out. That's the one thing I can see from this. But these are all of the things that I'm looking at and thinking about just so I can get this thing to look halfway decent. And I know it can look decent. I mean, you go back to, you look at Momo-ISA's image right here. This is the kind of angle that I'm looking for. I'm just looking for a slightly different expression. And this has to change because the teeth, what we've got here is we've got kind of a yandere smile, which means the mouth has to close, and for the mouth to close, those teeth have to come up here, and if those teeth go up there, then this chin needs to come up here as well. So the chin would more accurately be somewhere around here. and the neck would be coming out substantially farther. So that would kind of rotate up like that in order to bring the teeth back where they need to go. And we have to appropriately represent that. And then, of course, there's the question of, did they do this with that in mind, or should we just, like, put a different mouth on there? And that's all we need to do with it. And I don't know. I honestly don't. But I'm looking at all of this and thinking about all of this and going back and forth about all of it. I don't have any answers at this point. But I did want to kind of go through stuff and just kind of, I don't know, give you a window into the whole process where I'm looking at multiple things, trying to figure out exactly how to fix the problem that I'm facing. Because nobody really talks about where to look for these things and what to do with these things. Now, I went through a whole lot. I've got this Japanese anatomy book, which really doesn't cover a whole lot with respect to that. There's really not anything about the face in perspective. Although we do have some coverage. There's a little coverage of having the head lifted. But, like, that's the extent of it right there. That's all there is to it, is these three pictures for a guy and these three pictures for a girl. And that's more or less all they say about lifting the head. And then I've got in framed perspective too. There's a little bit about drawing figures in perspective. And there is, in section 3, Shadows on Characters, there's an example of a character with his head lifted. But again, it's just 3 pictures. There's not really a whole lot to that. I went through Framed Ink, both volumes, and I went through Drawing Techniques, and I checked in Gino Barksay's Anatomy for the Artist. Didn't really find much of anything in there. Jack Ham's Drawing the Head in Figure, that doesn't really have anything about drawing the head from underneath. Like, I could not find any meaningful information about it. But, yeah, I did go through a whole lot of stuff. Now, I did not go and look at Loomis because I didn't have time. I came up on time where I had to start the stream. So, well, it's not a stream anymore, is it? I could have taken extra time. There's no reason I couldn't have. Huh. I gotta get used to that. But yeah, I've been looking at a bunch of stuff. Like this is Edelgard from oh, God damn it. This is Edelgard from How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. And if you scroll in on this one, you can get kind of a look there. And there's this little line here to indicate the edge of the jaw, and then the neck is just kind of, there's almost no detail here. And that's what I was seeing on that. Was just not a whole lot of detail on the face from underneath. But I was digging through kind of my library of all of the images and obviously all of my books to try and get an idea what I had available to look at and figure out what the hell I was doing so I could do a better job. because I'm really working on this so it can become like a t-shirt design. I really want the fundamentally I want this to be something that you can buy on something or other. Let's so you want to do something kind of like this. Man, that looks better than I expected. And we can do a slightly different edge color. You can do something in like a light blue. Something like that. But I don't like that color at all. There we go, that's better. But actually this should be more of a greenish because of her eyes. There we go. Yeah, it gives it kind of a sick feel too. I think the skin needs to be more pinkish. But yeah, if it maintains all this stuff, right? If I take the background off of this, if I take those things off of there, then that would end up going on like a t-shirt. And I think that'd be pretty cool. Like having that on a shirt, it'd look good. But I need to do a better design than that. And that goes back to that thing I was talking about right at the beginning. Hold on a second. It goes back to the thing I said at the beginning about what are you offering to the rest of the world? What are you offering other people? What are you doing for other people? It doesn't necessarily have to be something they've asked for. It can just be something that you put out there. You just go, hey, if you like this, give me money for it. Like I do with my Legion of Badass shirts. But it's one of those things where I'm kind of feeling the pressure of after the last couple of years that I'm not doing anything that goes out into the wide world, you know? Everything that I'm doing is kind of staying in my little circle. All of the value that I offer is being offered to a tiny, tiny few people. And I really want to start pushing that value out to a larger audience. Which, you know, I'm doing with my YouTube videos, but there's no monetary exchange going on here, so it doesn't count. And I don't really see a monetary exchange making much sense on YouTube in the first place. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm working from, is this inherent idea that I need to be putting something out into the world that other people like and want and will pay for. And I'm not doing that right now. Like, I'm really not doing that right now. And I need to do that. And I got the shirts, but I sell like maybe 10 a year. It's not that much. It's not a whole lot of money in that. Which is almost entirely because I do not promote them for shit. And anyway, that's where things are. That's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm working with. I am showing up and trying to do a better job of the stuff that I'm doing. Which, yeah. Kind of what I'm always doing. But anyway, that's kind of where we are this week. That's kind of what I'm doing this week. Do a little YouTube dance again. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon. All of that happy horse shit. And I will be showing up again next week, and I hope you show up too. So, okay, bye.